Monday special tonight. We're talking about the problem of school fees in this country. We know parents are up in arms because school fees or secondary schools are not following the set guidelines by the government. Our guest tonight, I'll start with my immediate right, Janet Muthoni from Elimu Yetu Coalition, Omboko Milemba, who's the chairman for KUPPET. We also have Ken Okoth, Kibra MP, and also a member of the Parliamentary Committee on Education, and Stephen Stephen Makunga, who is a parent and for fear of victimization will not say where the child goes to school. Omboko Milemba already has a problem with that. He'll explain that to us. Let's first take a look at the guidelines that were set by the government in terms of fees. Right, for sub-county or day schools, total school fees payable is 22,254. The government subsidy is 12,870. So the school that is fees that are supposed to be paid is 9,374 shillings. For national, extra county and county boarding schools, it's 66,424. The government subsidy is 12,870. So total fees are less subsidy or payable is 53,553 shillings. And we have special needs schools, 69,810, government subsidy 32,600, and 37,210 shillings is the amount that should be paid. But schools have continually been flouting this guidelines. This is Juja Secondary School, a day school in Kiambu County. For instance, you see development there, 3,000, lunch 4,200, prize giving 1,000, smart gold program 1,000, total 25,774. Remember, the day school charges should be 9,000 shillings. That is more than 15,000 shillings on top. Moi Girls High School in Eldoret, for instance, Parents Association Fund 7,000 shillings. 4,614 the second time, 11,000 in the third term, a total of 82,397. The amount should be 53,000, over 30,000 on top of what the guidelines that have been set. Ngia Girls, this is in Siaya County, also having the same problem. School magazine, some of the charges there, 300. School vehicle maintenance, PTA teachers, a total of 77,575, almost 30,000 again above what should be charged by the boarding schools. And Ribe Boys in Kilifi County, again the same problem, a total of 65,000 shillings, almost 10,000 up and above what should be charged by boarding schools. And these are just some of the schools. Of course, there are many schools, and many of you are talking about them on 22422 on Twitter using the hashtag Monday Special KE. Keep talking to us. I'll start with the parent, Stephen Makunga. Tell us what your problem has been with this.
Thank you, Hussein, for giving this opportunity to share with you about the school fees. I think we, as parents, we appreciate the government for having given us free education and actually regulating the school fees in our public secondary schools. But to the extent, we believe that as parents, we are not satisfied that the government has done enough to just follow up on the same issue. We have figures being mentioned by the Ministry of Education. These are only figures mentioned by the government, but in the real sense, we are incurring a lot in schools. We are paying up to ×2 of the quoted figures by the government. So I really fail to understand why should the government say that they are regulating school fees, and at the same time we're just having a very huge school fees in terms of, for example, let me just say, for example, you get that like the national schools, they're saying of 53,000 plus.
Yeah.
And then we are ending up paying up to 84,000 plus.
What do you do as a parent? What do you do? For instance, now you're saying you're actually afraid of us saying where your child goes to school because of fear of victimization.
Exactly.
Why?
You see, Hussein, there is a board. There are these boards in schools. They say that they have agreed on some issues, like a bus that was bought in 2005 when my son was not in school, or my daughter, for example. she is joining school in 2016. She's incurring the same expense school bus, a dormitory that was constructed some time back. A new student going to school today is also paying for the bus. He is paying for the dormitory that was constructed 5 years ago, and some other activities that are done in school. Now, when you raise up your voice, you're being told that this has been agreed by the board of the school.
Okay, we come back to you. Let me get Omboko Milemba's reaction to that.
Oh, maybe I'll begin by saying thank you. One, when a parent complains that a student is in school and cannot mention the school, then we also lose the authenticity of that parent being serious, because Omboko Milemba, where is your daughter? My daughter is at Gloria's Academy, and teachers are listening and they're watching me. Or is at a rural primary. So we need authenticity, but that's not what I want to say. I want to move forward.
What he's saying is not right.
The guidelines that were set for the school, for the school fees, some of them even put the school fees much higher. And our county and extra county schools, our headmasters have been very fair. But I'm not here necessarily just to defend the position that schools must charge a lot of money. But there are issues that affect schools which must be understood. And then too, there are also people in the political circles like Mheshimiwa here who simply use school system to incite parents against them and headmasters and get political mileage. For instance, a day school may be charging 9,000 shillings, but that 9,000 shillings coming from the government does not include the lunch. You want to provide free education without lunch. So the headmasters will sit with the board. I'm happy the parent talked about BOGs. Principals don't set fees for schools. This is a matter that is done by the PTAs and the boards of government. He's saying
they overruled sometimes. He's saying, just respond to that, he's saying they get overruled sometimes. Like he's saying, they just tell him the board has decided.
The board has systems which they have meetings like AGMs. And it's during AGMs that they set fees. I'm a teacher for 21 years.
So what you're saying is all parents are involved.
Being overruled, that's a lie, because they accept. These are the same parents whom in some schools want their children to have sausage, want their children to... You talked of national schools and you know them, Kenya High, Eldoret and so on and so forth. You want sausages, you want swimming pool, you want whatever. And you are saying that that's a tradition. So these are the same parents that actually sanction these fees and come out and say, now the headmaster. Fee sanctioning is not an instrument of a principal or headmaster, but BOMs and PTAs.
Okay. Now, we'll proceed. Let me get a reaction first from Ken Okoth. I'll come back to you. Don't worry.
I have so much.
I will come back to you. Don't worry.
Thank you, Said, for hosting us. And first of all, let me say today is a great day because we've seen Garissa University College, which was closed down through acts of terrorism last year, has reopened. It's a good day for education in this country, that we're trying to turn things around, and I hope that that university will take off and be a place of excellence despite the tragedy last year. When we talk about education in this country, I'm holding a copy of the Constitution. Article 43 says every person has the right to education. It is not negotiable, it is clear. Under international treaties and obligations, whether it's the OAU, International Covenant on Economic and Civil Rights, we have education there, and Kenya has signed them. On our Basic Education Act, we have the right to education classified as basic education is 12 years of education from preschool up to Form 4. So we have to go back to these fundamentals instead of arguing about sausages and swimming pools, which are irrelevant to my people in Kibra. Give us desks, give us chalk, give us adequate teachers, and let us set the standards first. Our children in Kibra, even if they have to suffer and eat githeri for the whole time they're in school, is better than to tell them they can't go to school because some parents want their children to eat sausage. That is not how we're going to have this discussion. Number two is, honestly, Omboko knows I'm a champion and a supporter of teachers. We stood together and we'll always stand together on issues that are your rights. But we cannot allow head teachers, who are a special category in this country. They're the accounting officers, they're in charge of the educational program, they're in charge of safety, if it's a boarding school. There's a lot that goes into being a head teacher. And we must ask ourselves, is it a high time to reclassify the job of a head teacher in this school and have tenures? For instance, a head teacher who sits in a school for 10 years conflicts abound so much. That is an issue we must address in this country. When he tells you he fears to mention where his child is he justified to say that? Yeah. He's justified because it's a culture in this country that some head teachers are very powerful. They stay in those places and they become the institution themselves. What I'm proposing is let us come up with a system, and the unions must agree with the parents because we're the ones paying the taxes on those teachers, and it's our children who we want educated. Right. I just want to say head teachers in this country should not stay in a country more than 8 years. You give them a contract for 4 years, they perform, you renew them. If they're such a great head teacher, send them to another school. If you're great in the Alliance, send you to Wajir High School. If you're great in Wajir High School, bring you to Moi Girls School, Nairobi. Shift them around if they're that excellent. But once you start having head teachers who are there forever and ever, you get these cartels and system where parents are bullied and they're extorted, and it is not the way to run institutions. Even a presidential term is limited to 10 years.
Right, let me get Janet on this here.
Well, I think for me, and Hussein, we've been on this issue since 2013. Yeah. And what we are seeing now is very serious indictment on the part of the principals and the people that call themselves heads of institutions. Why? Because nobody is calling them thieves, but we are saying they're the chief interpreters of government policy at school level. You do not expect parents to have more understanding on the laws that govern education or the policies that govern education at school level than the capacity of the school principal. And therefore, it is misleading when someone tells us that it is the boards of management that are failing. Yet we have the chief technical officer from the Ministry of Education that is in charge of the interpretation of the policy of education. Because parents probably do not understand the mission of education, but the principal is paid because of his understanding. His capacity is built from time to time. It is to who those documents are sent. For example, you're talking about the Gazette Notice, if you're talking about the Education Act, the head teacher of the school has them. And therefore, violating them simply because he's receiving pressure from parents, to me it looks fraudulent, it doesn't look true. And I'm telling Omboko here, without fear of contradiction, we have handled such parents that are saying we cannot speak in our schools. Why? Because even our capacity is very low. We have parents who have not even gone to school. They cannot raise their voices in such kinds of meetings. And therefore, we are expecting a principal to understand his constituents in terms of parents, that have this constituency of parents. A good number of them are probably rich, or a good number of them are probably poor. And therefore, how do I ensure that all these children access education? It is up to the head teacher to interpret the policy of the Ministry of Education to the parents and even to the board of management, and make them understand that this is the vision of education in this country. It is the role of the principal.
So in other words, there's no way out of this. They should follow the set guidelines.
That is what I'm saying, that these guidelines have been violated. It squarely falls on the shoulders of the principal and the failure of the Ministry of Education to enforce its own guidelines.
Right. A quick one for Mheshimiwa. I was not necessarily just talking about Kibra. Kibra has got its very unique circumstances, but I talked about the high cost schools which are here and we live with them. On the issue of the principal coming from Janet, there are structures in the Ministry of Education, and she knows very well because she sat on that task force that made this school fees guidelines. And she knows who is supposed to be responsible, and there is a valve which is maybe being misused or used, and you should tell the public that in the event that the fees has to be changed, they call the AGMs, the parents come there, they make a decision, and that school fees is agreed upon, taken to the ministry, and blah, 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 blah. But further on, Janet herself did not even sign the school guidelines. You yourself and Lunda Musau did not even believe in the structure of the fees that was being provided. So I don't know which ground she's defending today. Because signatures are there. Even union side, she did not sign. Musau Ndura did not sign. They will explain to the Kenyans that.
If head teachers are among those who signed as stakeholders, why are they not following what was said?
I want to take you more to the issue that teachers.
I'm asking you a question. If head teachers were among, the Head Teachers Association was among the stakeholders.
Thank you.
They were there when this was being passed.
Yes.
Why are they not following the set guidelines?
They are following, but they are also using the clause inside that particular document itself, which allows them to make extra charges if they agree with the parents. Go and read the document. You did not sign it.
Okay.
But let him misleading. That is misleading. I think he should let him continue by while he's misleading.
Everybody will speak.
We'll allow him to point, but I think he's misleading us because there is a clause that schools that are self-governing with the head teachers, a technical person, can set their fees. However, that clause that he's talking about does not overrule the guidelines set by the ministry and gazetted, which is a force of law. So you can set, if we say school fees are 55,000 for boarding school, you can meet as a board and agree this is a school that costs 30,000, but we have decided to raise it to 40,000 as long as you don't pass the 55. So it is these high-cost schools that he's talking about that are criminal. The people who are running them are a cartel of thieves, including those head teachers. We need to start calling as it is because they are stealing from our parents.
The question of teacher shortage.
We will.
Yes, that is a valid one.
We will come to that.
Let us
we'll also look at the problems from the head teacher's perspective. Let me get
that. I will support.
Let me get Stephen Makumya.
I'm also appreciating Omboko Milemba being one of the senior teachers in this country and one of the union leaders. You should be standing in between the government and the poor parents of this country. Of course, I'm saying this because I believe if you echo the head teachers and the BOGs of the schools
and the PTAs.
I'm asking you a question. For example, a poor parent from your home area takes a student to Kenya High, and then Kenya High, as the tradition is a school of well-to-do people. And then here is a parent in between, a very poor parent. A child has scored high enough to go to that school, and the school fees is 55,000 as the government regulates it. But because the parents and whoever in that school believe that the schools need sausages and whatever you've said, and then a poor parent from Ugenya doesn't afford those sausages, who will defend that?
I meant that parents must take the authority they have and determine what they want in their schools. Instead of passing laws of sausages and swimming pools, which make your fees higher.
When they are passing it, where is this technical officer? When they are passing those irrelevant laws, where is this technical officer of the Ministry of Education?
Now coming to complain outside the bracket that parents are adding these fees. Furthermore, I was to answer, you are taking me to my conclusion, because he should give us that conclusion. When he read the Constitution, he did not tell us that education in this country is supposed to be free and compulsory up to O level. And that when you provide free and compulsory education, as unions were struggling to have what is called the fees charges removed, it means you provide everything. And everything means even food, lunch. Why are you not talking about those issues? I'm talking about principals and teachers in this school.
I think
you should now tackle the real issues that are making fees hinder our students not to go to schools. Like, are we providing lunch? Are we providing the desks in Kibra? Or you want them to sit down? Those are the issues you'll handle, not the teachers.
I think Omboko touched on something that is very, very, very important.
Teacher shortage.
And it's not even about teacher shortage. It's that myself and Dunda did not even sign that report. Why? Because Dunda and myself saw that these people did not believe in that report. They wanted to hoodwink us because... I want to say today here and now, Kupet was represented in that, and they signed that report.
And you?
They cheated us that they believed in the report, but we saw them, we saw their motive. So they called us to the Ministry of Education on a plain paper that we signed the report, and we told them no, go and bring the entire report.
What is the defending?
Bring the entire report. No. Bring the entire report. Bring the entire report on a booklet, and we are going to sign on the booklet. They did not avail the booklet, and so we decided, because we know what happens in this country. These people could have cheated everyone, and when we cheated them, they signed the report, only for them to come back 2 weeks later and start saying that they disown. We want a culture of accountability. They sat in that task force, they drew allowances, they believed in that report, then they actually signed. What are they telling us?
I want you to answer this question. This is actually, I'll read it as a text as well. Somebody says, school heads make budgets that run school programs and maintain standards of performance and provide appropriate facilities. I visited a public primary school recently, and I'm saddened by the sorry state of infrastructure. Government is playing politics with its most important sector, that is education. Government guidelines are unrealistic, hence the disregard by head teachers. You want a sorry state of education? And the question to the three of you, Omboko has been talking about this. I mean, don't you think in some cases these head teachers are also justified when you look at the infrastructure in the schools and the problems that they have in the schools?
Can I answer you, Hussein? Can I answer you, Hussein? What we are against is this culture of back and forth and non-accountability. It's barely under a year where we sat, the CS put together a task force that went round and they put together all their views. Actually, there were no people who were more consulted than the principals themselves. If you would wish to know, they were the majority in that task force. State House girls were represented, Alliance was represented, Maseno was represented. What is this that they did not say in the task force that they are saying now? Having managed those schools for the entire time, they were supposed to bring that experience to the task force and support us to make a decision. That is not what they will do in the task force, but they will wait until there is a report out. They will wait until they draw the allowances for the entire month that they worked within the task force. Were they wishing to mislead this country? I think there's a question of accountability that has to be answered. So number two, what exactly are we saying? What exactly are these costs? Are you telling me, because the government is saying it takes 53,000, the government is also bringing in 10,000, bringing that to 63,000. Is Omboko telling us here today and now that those things that they are saying that are not done amounts to an extra 40,000 because there are schools charging 100, 90 and 80? What are we saying? Why all these discrepancies? You have showed us some structures here. A school charging 53, another one 60, another one 70, another one 85. What exactly is this story? Can we get coherence?
In other words, Omboko, in other words, what she is saying, Omboko, what she is saying, in other words, is that you are not being honest, because if it's about infrastructure and other problems that you had foreseen, you would have said then.
Let me make a comment about that. Infrastructure. There is infrastructure going on in schools, and the question you have received is a pathetic school that requires infrastructure. What to believe is in Kibra, where Mheshimiwa comes from. And that requires money. It is up to the parents and the administration of the school to sit down and see how much more can they fit in to get those infrastructure. But if you're providing good enough, next, I'm not wrong, there's the issue of the teachers. Parents are paying teachers who should be paid by the government, and you come here, Mheshimiwa, to tell us that fees is high. Maseno High School, the last time I talked about it, was having more than 24 teachers on BOG. How much are they earning? That's the kind of money that the government should be paying. You should go to parliament and tell the government of the day to employ more teachers so that parents are not paying in form of increased school fees. These are the issues that should come on such a show. Not telling us that headmasters are a problem. And this is a rampant problem in the entire country. I'm assuring you there are over 100,000 of teachers shortage in the country. And you can't address that. When we made the report, we agreed, and Janet was there, that let's go and address the issue of teacher shortage before we adopt these guidelines. Janet, you are there, but you know side the document.
Fair enough. Let me ask you a question. Are you saying then all the schools, the fees that are being charged in all the schools, they are justified? Is that what you're saying?
No. I'm saying the issue that I'm making, the fees guidelines not to be adhered to, and that's one of them. I have a list of things here. I know I may
but you can't speak for all schools. Some could be just doing it for other ulterior reasons.
Then you have to sample them out, and then we talk about them as specifics. But when I talk about, yes, thank you.
Right, we have to take a short break now. The discussion will still go on, including what is the way forward. I'm sure Honorable Ken Okoth is still burning to talk. We'll handle all those issues, plus more of your comments on 22422, and on Twitter use the hashtag MondaySpecialKE. We are back after this short break.
Lipa na M-Pesa, unapata fursa ya kutimiza ndoto ya kuwa na nyumba yako mwenyewe. Pata maelezo zaidi karatasi ya matangazo.